Living off the grid has become increasingly popular as people seek independence from traditional utilities and a more sustainable lifestyle. However, not all states are created equal when it comes to off-grid living possibilities. Today, we'll explore the 10 U.S. states where going off-grid is nearly impossible due to various regulations, restrictions, and environmental challenges. Let's start with California, perhaps the most restrictive state when it comes to off-grid living. While California is known for its progressive stance on renewable energy, the state's building codes and zoning laws make it extremely difficult to disconnect from the grid. Many counties require mandatory connection to public utilities, and strict regulations govern solar installations and water collection systems. The state's fire codes are particularly stringent, requiring specific building materials and safety measures that can be cost-prohibitive for off-grid enthusiasts. Moving to the East Coast, Connecticut presents another challenging environment for off-grid living. The state's dense population and strict zoning laws make it difficult to find suitable land for off-grid development. Connecticut's building codes require connection to public water and sewer systems in most areas, and many municipalities have ordinances against collecting rainwater. The state's harsh winters also pose significant challenges for solar power generation and sustainable farming. New Jersey, the most densely populated state in the nation, ranks third on our list. The Garden State's extensive regulations and high property taxes make it nearly impossible to live truly off-grid. Local ordinances often require connection to municipal utilities, and many areas have strict restrictions on alternative energy systems. The state's limited available land and high cost of property further complicate matters for potential off-grid residents. Fourth on our list is Hawaii, which might seem surprising given its abundant sunshine and natural resources. However, the state's isolated location and strict building codes make off-grid living extremely challenging. The high cost of land, complex permit requirements, and restrictions on water collection systems create significant barriers. Additionally, many Hawaiian communities have regulations requiring connection to the electrical grid, even if you have solar panels installed. Massachusetts comes in at number 5, with its combination of strict building codes, zoning laws, and environmental regulations. The state's weather patterns can make solar power less reliable, and many municipalities require connection to public utilities. Massachusetts also has some of the most stringent septic system requirements in the country, making alternative waste management systems difficult to implement. Rhode Island, the smallest state in the Union, takes the 6th spot. Its limited land availability and dense population make finding suitable off-grid property nearly impossible. The state's building codes are particularly restrictive regarding alternative energy systems and water collection. Many local governments require mandatory connection to public utilities, and zoning laws often prohibit the types of structures typically associated with off-grid living. Maryland ranks 7th on our list, primarily due to its strict building codes and environmental regulations. The state's Chesapeake Bay Critical Area Law imposes additional restrictions on development near waterways, which affects a significant portion of the state. Many counties require connection to public utilities when available, and there are often limitations on alternative waste management systems. Number 8 is Delaware, where a combination of factors makes off-grid living particularly challenging. The state's low elevation and vulnerability to flooding mean many areas require connection to municipal water and sewer systems. Building codes are strict regarding alternative energy systems, and many localities have ordinances against rainwater collection. The state's small size and high population density also limit available land for off-grid development. New York takes the 9th spot, particularly due to its varying regional restrictions. While some rural areas might be more accommodating, many parts of the state have strict regulations that make off-grid living nearly impossible. New York City and its surrounding areas have some of the most restrictive building codes in the nation. The state's harsh winters also pose significant challenges for solar power generation and sustainable food production. Rounding out our top 10 is Illinois, where a combination of state and local regulations creates significant barriers to off-grid living. Many counties require connection to public utilities when available, and there are strict regulations regarding alternative waste management systems. The state's weather patterns can make solar power less reliable, and zoning laws often restrict the types of structures and activities associated with off-grid living. It's important to note that these restrictions often exist for valid reasons, including public health and safety concerns. Many of these regulations were established to protect water quality, ensure proper waste management, and maintain public safety standards. However, they can create significant challenges for those seeking to live independently of traditional utility systems. The challenges in these states often extend beyond just legal restrictions. Environmental factors play a crucial role as well. For instance, states with extreme weather conditions make it difficult to maintain consistent solar power generation or grow food year-round. Urban sprawl and high population density in many of these states also mean that finding suitable land for off-grid living can be both difficult and expensive. Moreover, the financial implications of attempting to live off-grid in these states can be substantial. The cost of complying with various regulations, obtaining necessary permits, and implementing approved alternative systems can make off-grid living financially unfeasible for many people. In some cases, the expenses involved in meeting all regulatory requirements can exceed the cost of remaining connected to traditional utilities. However, this doesn't mean that sustainable living is impossible in these states. Many residents have found creative ways to reduce their dependence on traditional utilities while still complying with local regulations. This might include installing solar panels while maintaining a grid connection, implementing water conservation measures, or creating small-scale food production systems within the confines of local zoning laws. For those seriously interested in off-grid living, it's often more practical to consider states with more favorable regulations and conditions. States like Arizona, Montana, and Alaska generally have more lenient restrictions and more suitable conditions for off-grid living. These states typically have more available land, less restrictive building codes, and regulations that are more accommodating to alternative living arrangements. As we look to the future, there's hope that some of these restrictions might evolve as sustainability becomes increasingly important. Many states are already beginning to update their regulations to better accommodate renewable energy systems and alternative living arrangements. However, for now, these 10 states remain among the most challenging places to attempt true off-grid living in the United States. Understanding these challenges is crucial for anyone considering off-grid living. It's essential to thoroughly research local regulations, building codes, and environmental factors before making any significant investments or life changes. While the dream of living off-grid might be appealing, the reality is that in some locations, it's simply not feasible under current regulations and conditions.